If you want to be good at something, you've just got to practice, practice, practice. So personal growth has been a hobby of mine for probably 30 years now. I mean, you might even call it a passion. And recently I was having a conversation with a friend, and we were just, having typical conversation and talking about what's been going on in our lives. And, I was sharing with her some of the conclusions or what I've been leaning on lately with my own personal growth journey. And again, when I talk about personal growth and it being a passion of mine, really what my goal and really what this channel is about, my goal is I'm just trying to make my life easier and happier. And then whatever I've learned over the years, over the decades, I want to share that with you all, and maybe it'll help you guys live an easier and happier life in some way. I'm not claiming that I have all the answers, but I've definitely come up with a few, I feel like pretty insightful ideas and practices, and they've worked for me, and maybe they'll work for you. So I just wanted to have a little conversation, try to keep it a little bit more casual. I'm still finishing my coffee, and I love using this little cup and saucer as opposed to the big mug. It's just something that I enjoy, and it just makes my day a little bit better. And again, those are the kind of things that I'm talking about for personal growth. Just little things that make your life better for you, and everybody's got their own different ways of making things better. And what works for you might not work for someone else. Some people, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and getting their day started, it works for them. But just because someone like Tony Robbins does that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. I getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning doesn't work for me, unless I'm going on like a big hiking trip that I'm super excited about. Anyway, so what I've been leaning on lately is just how critically important practice is. As I go through all these different ideas and things in life for health and wellness and work and play, it all comes down to practice. If we don't practice, nurture whatever it is we're trying to do on a regular basis, it's really just going to be for naught. I can't really think of any one and done solutions out there. I mean, okay, if you have a bacterial infection, you can take an antibiotic and that's going to, begin to clear things up within like 24 hours. But, you have to take the full 7 or 11-day course of it. But there really aren't that many one and done solutions out there. And when it comes to your health and well-being, I can't think of any one and done solution. I mean, you have to drink water every day. You have to eat food on a regular basis. And I'm getting older. I'm in my 50s now, and I can tell I've lost muscle mass, and I've been watching more and more videos about gaining muscle and everything. And there's so many individual, do this routine, do that routine, eat this, eat that. And what it really boils down to is when you see these people with the really beautiful physiques and the muscles just, all over the place, these people have been weight training for years, 5 years, 10 years, and they've been doing it like 5-6 days a week for 5 and 10 years. You're not just gonna go to the gym for a month and think, boom, I'm gonna have this awesome physique. It just doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. You've got to practice it. If you want to be an amazing athlete, like Simone Biles or Tiger Woods, they started when they were children. I mean, little children. And they've been practicing like diligently every day for 20, 30 years. Simone Biles has been a gymnast for 20 plus years, and she goes hard, 6 whatever days a week. and she's really diligent and intentional and trying to hone her skills and practice, you just can't get around it. And your health is the same way. You just can't get around practicing. I've made videos about like drinking water. You can't just drink water one day and think, oh, I don't have to drink water anymore. You can't just eat one bowl of vegetables and think, I don't have to eat vegetables anymore for the rest of my life. And honestly, I don't even really eat vegetables anymore. I find that they bloat my stomach and I don't feel good when I eat vegetables. But when I eat more of a carnivore diet, that works for me. But for other people, they work better on a vegan or vegetarian or some other diet, whatever it is. You just got to figure out what works for you and you've got to practice it. You see all of these, 7-day challenges, 30-day challenges. That's all well and good, but as soon as you stop that behavior, you're going to end up going right back to where you were before it. If you don't continue to practice that skill, that experience, that, learning that knowledge and that subject matter, if you don't keep practicing it day in and day out, you're not going to be an expert. You can't just read one book and be like, oh, I'm an expert. Here's an example. I wrote a book 2 years ago about innovation, like how to innovate. I consider myself an expert innovator. I've earned more than 75 patents in my career. I think I'm pretty good at it. But I didn't learn how to be a creative problem solver just from going to school. In fact, what I learned in school is how to memorize something or do a problem well enough to pass the test. I'm an engineer by my formal schooling. I didn't learn to be an innovator by going to college for engineering or graduate school for biomedical engineering. That is not how I became an expert problem solver with so many patents. How I became, or what I think, the reason I became such a good problem solver is because I had an 18-year apprenticeship with my father, following him around the house, around the yard, around the garage, fixing everything from lawnmowers to garbage disposals to building additions onto the house, like room additions, to restoring a Mustang convertible. I mean, we worked on everything. My dad always had ideas for new creations, new projects around the home. And growing up in the 70s, we just learned to fix whatever was broken as best we could. We didn't just throw it away and buy new. We tried to fix it first. I remember, with our television set, back in the day, there were tubes, vacuum tubes of all different sizes. And if one tube burned out, then the television wouldn't work anymore. And I remember going through the process with my father, taking off the back panel and figuring out, okay, which tube is not working, and then pulling that tube out, going to the hardware store, sticking it in the little machine to test the tubes. And then you find, okay, the tube is broken. You buy the new tube, you put it back in into the television, and then boom, the television works again. I had an 18-year apprenticeship to learn how to be a problem solver. And nowadays it seems like on LinkedIn and Facebook and social media, there are so many courses and trainings, and it's like we think that if we take one course or go to one training, then boom, we're going to be the expert in that. When does that ever happen? I've been to so many trainings and courses and workshops throughout my career, work career, education career. I've been to so many different workshops, and they're all well and good and they're super interesting and people are teaching some really great information. But if you don't practice that on a regular basis and you're not really intentional about practicing and nurturing whatever it is you learned, if you don't do that over and over and over again, you're not going to be good at it. It's going to be basically useless. And it's like we expect someone to be an expert just after one course. Like, oh, I got this certification and boom, now I'm an expert at it. No, you're not. You might have been exposed to the information, but you are not an expert. Let me tell you, that is just not going to happen. Okay, maybe there's an exception to the rule, but I really doubt it. So it's funny how school, just regular K through 12 or university school is like the same way. We're so committed and stuck on getting through the curriculum. I got to learn this lesson plan, then that lesson plan, and that lesson plan. When do we ever really give students time to practice and nurture that skill? Whatever it is that we're learning, addition, subtraction, reading, writing, when are we really practicing that skill? It seems so rare because as soon as we learn it, we're on to the next one. As soon as you pass the test or take the test, you're on to the next bit of curriculum. Now, some subject matter can be cumulative, so you sort of get the practice over time. But if you don't stick with it, I can't tell you how many semesters of calculus that I went through in college. Calc 1, Calc 2, differential equations, boundary value problems. So much math. And I got to my career, and I started my career designing total joint replacements, like total hip replacements for, like your grandmother or something, total knee replacements. And I didn't need to use calculus at all. There was one time about 2 or 3 years into my career where I saw an application. I was like, oh, I can solve this problem using calculus. And I did. And it was amazing because calculus is incredibly efficient when you really know how to use it. I could have probably solved the problem with trigonometry, but with calculus, it was just so much more efficient. And it was great. I didn't have to use calculus, but I knew how and I could, so I did. But let me tell you, decades later, I have not been practicing my calculus for many decades now. I can barely even do a derivative, and what does that really even mean? And how is that really useful? So if we're not practicing whatever skill or subject matter or health-related aspect in our lives, it's just going to degrade and we're going to lose it. And it doesn't apply, just to sports. I was sharing this example with my friend that, Bill Gates did not become an incredible pioneer in computers and technology because he went to college. Actually, he didn't even finish college. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he didn't even finish college. But when he was a teenager, he used to sneak out of his house in the middle of the night to go to some computer lab to code, to write software, to write code. That's the passion. Now, when it becomes obsessive, it can be detrimental, but that's the kind of practice and passion that Bill Gates had for computers and software. And it, launched him on an incredible career, and he's done amazing things in the world, but he's also really suffered in things like his relationship. His 20 whatever year, 30-year marriage ended recently because while he might have been practicing all of the computer software work, when was he practicing his relationships? When was he practicing interacting, sharing feelings, sharing thoughts, sharing ideas, and listening to others? And when you don't share these ideas back and forth, when he was struggling to really connect with his wife, Melinda Gates, right? I believe he struggled to really connect with her. And then ultimately the marriage fails. And how often do we struggle with our relationships? Again, if we don't practice nurturing our relationships on a day-to-day basis, then they're going to struggle, they're going to suffer, and we're going to disconnect. And it's not just about communication, it's about connection. And there's a difference. It's not just about socializing, it's about connecting, really feeling heard and understood and valued as a person. You can be in a room full of people at a party, at a family gathering for Thanksgiving or Christmas or something, or in a classroom with a group of 20 other students and a teacher, and you can be socializing, but if you don't really feel heard and understood, then you're not going to be connecting. And then that gets into emotional health, which is something I'll talk about in another video. But the point of all this is that if we don't practice intentionally the things that matter most to us, and the things that we want to improve at the most, and the things that we want to be the best at, like learning violin or guitar or piano, or being a triathlete. I'm a triathlete. I'm a backpacker. Things. I've been backpacking for 26 years now, and things that are just second nature for me are completely, out of the question, like unheard of for a beginner backpacker. But that's because I've been practicing it for almost 3 decades. Recently I've posted a lot of videos about foam rolling and trying to help reduce joint pain or prevent joint pain and tendonitis. And the reason that I've made all these videos to help with different joints around the body is because I've been practicing for 23 years how to be injury free. And, if you watch those videos, I say, several times that I'm a 23-year injury free Ironman triathlete. And then I've taken all that experience and knowledge, and I coach athletes now. And that's just a side hustle for me. So without all of that practice, we don't get good at it, and there's always something new to learn. And that's one of the things I love about life, is that you can keep practicing and practicing, and I believe you can always improve. You never reach the pinnacle. As healthy as you are, I believe you can be even more healthy. You can get even more quality of sleep. You can hydrate even better. You can eat even better food for your body, and your needs. And the funny thing about it too is that things change over time. When I started in triathlon, I really enjoyed using gels as my nutrition, during my activities of, biking and running and so on. But then I morphed over into wanting solid food and not gels. And then I morphed into wanting just liquid nutrition. I wanted to be able to drink all of my calories and hydration, of course. And I learned about electrolytes and vitamins, and how, the USDA recommended daily allowance is just BS. I mean, I don't know of any real hard data with how they came up with those numbers. So you got to find what works for you. And if you want to be good at something, you've just got to practice, 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 learn more, optimize, and do the best that you can for your goals and your needs. And if you keep trying and keep working at it, hopefully you'll get there at some point. But to ever think that there's a one and done for anything in this world, you're going to be, in store for a rude awakening. So I'll take one more sip. That's my little rant for today. I'll be curious, what you think about it in your comments below. This is just some of the thoughts that I've had. Hopefully you'll like it. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, and we'll see what other kind of videos come out to help your life, my life, everyone's life be a little bit better and a little happier in the years to come. So until next time, peace, love, and connect.